Hi, this is Ed, and I'm in Southern California, and welcome again to Global TV Talk Show, a business unit of globalbusinessnews.net. We have been publishing and broadcasting Global TV Talk Show since March of 2020, after the pandemic wiped out our 25 years of producing successful, profitable live training and networking meetings. Someday we'll do that again. But since March 2020 through today, which is October 7, we have developed content and have produced and have to date distributed 557 global TV talk shows. And it's a lot. We've been busy. But that's because there's an audience and a demand, apparently, for what we're doing. And thank you. Grateful. Grateful for the audience and grateful for our partners and sponsors. So what we have coming up in just a few minutes is from Roma, Damien O'Farrell, who I've known for 20 odd years, a very successful man in business, helping people and companies relocate internationally. He's originally from the Dublin area, been living in Rome for a long time, is an expert in relocation advice. And the show will be about what it takes to relocate and invest in Italy today. And today is October 7 in the year 2022. So stay tuned. Thank you. So here we are. I'm in Southern California, and our very special guest today on Global TV Talk Show is in Roma, and Damien O'Farrell. Welcome, Damien.
Thanks, Ed, and it's a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love your picture in the background. And I've been sitting on those steps in the past and also going up and down the steps many times, and actually stayed in a hotel up at the top there to the right, but I can't remember the name of it right now.
Hotel de la Ville.
So it could be, and I know they had a rooftop bar or something
Hotel
overlooking.
Hassler, the Hassler.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Damien, you've been in Italy a long time now. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I came to Italy initially. It should have been about 2 to 3 months, and it's going to be 35 years next year.
Oh my God. That's all.
It's a really long time. Yeah.
I don't think you've aged a day.
Well, no, I've aged. I guess it must be some of the cases I've worked with.
Other people, yeah. No, we won't get into that, though. So, buongiorno. It's just about 7 a.m. here in California, and you're 4 p.m. And so the topic today, as I understand it, and please correct me or refocus me, is not just relocating into Italy, but investing. And that means people with capability, with money and know-how, who perhaps invest in other places. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about, the kind of the way I've pivoted in global mobility, because I kind of moved away from what I call standard relocation. And I'm now much more about a high-end relocation. Okay, so I'm now really working with a very small group of people, which is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, because I now finally have the time to really dedicate to the needs of the person relocating that I didn't necessarily have before.
Because of the volume of work that was required, and each case requires an inordinate amount of energy and time.
And as I mentioned in my email to you, big doesn't always necessarily mean bigger, because when I initially made the change, I really niched down. So first I kind of arrived at the people who understood the need for a more white glove experience. And then I had to go further down to the people that not only understood it, but would be willing to pay for it.
Yeah. So we won't get into the details of your fee structure, but it is geared for a more affluent individual because of the need to, well, if you're going to invest, it's going to be a lot of money, and that means capability.
It's yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's aimed at people that understand that if you want a lot of care to detail, that's going to come at a premium. Okay. If you walk into Hermes, you don't really expect to get a bag for 400 euros. Okay. And Hermes doesn't expect that somebody walking in is going to think they're going to get a bag at that price. Okay. So
What would that
that's
bag
why,
cost?
well, they've got bags of 5, 10,000, but they've also got bags of 45, 48, 100,000. Okay. So and so they've got their target market. And
Mm.
as I also mentioned in my email, I was talking about talent density, which I think was coined by Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
What does
Which
talent density means? That's an interesting the use of words.
it is, and I think it was Netflix who came up with the term. And what it basically means is you have very elevated talent working for you, and because they're all of that level, then the talent is very dense. Okay,
What does that mean?
meaning that everyone that really works for you is of a very high level. And so because you have really no one working for you that's, let's say, at a lower level, then the talent is extremely dense
Okay,
because
so to me, this means that, like for instance, you and I, we'd be at that level, I'm sure, but uh, that we operate as an entrepreneur, but within an organized structure with rules and regulations.
and yeah, and in the case of certain companies, they really go out of their way to find the best people on the market. Okay, but excuse me, there's really not much point in doing that if then the relocation program that's assigned to that person is very flimsy or thin, because then you run the risk that the person feels that they weren't really taken care of. Okay. And that can lead to the person actually wanting to leave. So, case in point, if you have a policy, either you pay for all of what you're offering the assignee, or maybe you don't, which might even be better. But to kind of say to the assignee, okay, we're going to pay for this, but we're not going to pay for that, then the assignee could think that, they're not really being taken care of. So the corporate clients that I work with are the people that understand that if they've invested in getting the best talent, then they need to make sure that when they relocate, that the person doesn't feel that they're not being taken care of as they would like.
So let's talk about these people who are people of means who have been traveling for years and years and staying in five-star places, maybe even mega star. But are they hiring you to take care of all the bureaucratic stuff, or do they still have to do their own share of it?
Um, I mean, they have to do some of it themselves in the sense that they will need to go to the Italian consulate to request the visa. But
Mhm.
together with my small team, we walk them through that and we make sure that what they present is what I call bulletproof, so that they're not going to get denied. Okay.
Right.
Because even if you're a person of financial means, but you don't put together your application properly, you could get denied.
And you
And
want
so
to avoid that. You don't want to go back.
we want to avoid, what we want is everything to go very smooth. Okay. And so the people work with me to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly. Okay. And when I decided to niche down initially, I mean, it was kind of a shock because I went from, a lot of initiations every day to maybe 2 or 3 initiations per month. But that's the direction I wanted to go in, because that's why I was saying bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. Because if you're managing too many people, it's very difficult to give each one the attention that they need. It's like having 2 children or having 14 children. Okay. I mean, I would imagine that you can manage 2 a little bit easier than you could manage 14 in a normal circumstance. And
Yeah.
it's the same with clients. Is if you're going to take, and because in Italy, because many things can take a lot of time, you really need to have time at your disposal. And the clients really appreciate that. But then we also work on other things. We work on having them attend events together.
Hmm.
Or with a colleague of mine, we can arrange sometimes for personal shopping for them in a store after hours. And so, we take care of them in whatever way they need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. Did you do all this in advance? Pardon me. With a questionnaire, so you have.
There's an
Yeah.
initial questionnaire. Then each client speaks personally to me,
Yeah.
and then I really get to know the person, or the person and the family, whoever makes up the family unit, and really concentrating on what are they going to need to be happy in Italy.
And
Okay.
based on that, you're able to prepare not only yourself but them. And then
Absolutely.
you could set up, because you already have contacts, and for instance, these high-end shops in the background where you are right now by the 7 steps.
Mhm.
Um, this is exactly their customer, right?
It's exactly their customer. Exactly. And a lot of people coming from Southeast Asia, they really want to be in Rome or Milan. They're not necessarily interested in going to, a smaller city in Tuscany and doing cooking classes. They're more interested in being where the luxury is going on, and they want to stay in hotels that you probably can only find in the bigger markets.
Exactly.
Though the luxury experience is spreading, Puglia is really coming up.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's down by the boot.
it's right down in the heel.
Yeah.
Um, and that is, there are a lot of 5-star resorts now opening up there. And I think if the new government coming in focuses on that, we'll see more and more of it, because other countries have kind of moved a little bit more where that's concerned, and they've got places for people to bring their yachts, and the luxury is really off the scales. So I think if Italy really focuses more on that type of client, it'll be good for the country.
Interesting, isn't it? So they wouldn't necessarily go to invest in Sicily, for instance.
Um, they might. I mean, there are luxury properties in Sicily.
Yeah, so
Um,
acreage, view, that
that's
kind
right.
of thing. Yeah.
And I mean, not everybody's looking for a turnkey experience. So you do have high-end clients that are looking to create something. So they may buy something in Sicily and really turn it into something magnificent.
Got it.
I
Yeah.
mean, it depends what they're looking for. I mean, normally the people that I work with, want to be in a first tier city. They're not necessarily looking at going to a second or a third tier city, but they might be. But it gets much more. The more remote you go, the more challenging it gets to provide a certain
Yeah.
experience.
So you mentioned Puglia, which has been underdeveloped, and now there's a lot of money pouring in. Now, why is that?
Well, because I mean, you have beaches in Puglia, in the area, particularly of Salento. And I mean, and they really do look like you're in the Maldive Islands. I mean, the water is spectacular. But you've also got incredible cuisine, wine, um, amazing cities. The city of Lecce, which a lot of people haven't been to,
I've never heard of it. Yeah.
it is amazing. And so you've got all this history, and it's been undiscovered, so to speak. Okay. So you've got a lot of people from Germany, the Netherlands, even people from the US. But someone from the US would be making a full-time move. Okay. Um, it's not that common to have somebody from the US with a holiday home in Italy, because it is, even from the East Coast, it's a 9-hour flight, which is a bit much for a holiday home.
Yes, it is indeed, unless you're going to be there a month or more.
Unless you're going to be there for a month.
So to what extent is there an immigration issue? A migrant is what I'm trying to say here. Migrant form of immigration in that southern heel area.
I mean, are you talking about the migrants that we have arriving on the boats?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have that. You know, you've got people, they mean, you know, people that arrive on the boats, from, they kind of come through Libya. It's kind of, they come from other countries in Africa, and they make their way through Libya, and then they come across on the boats. They need to get to Europe. Italy may not necessarily be the place where they want to be. Many of them want to make their way, you know, to Germany or Scandinavia or the Benelux countries. So yeah, I mean, we have a new government coming in, and they, I think, will really be working to bring that situation under control.
Interesting time, isn't it? So let's talk about the techniques and the standards of service that you began speaking about a few minutes ago, relevant to the Asian target market in particular. So there's lots of people from Asia Pacific who have done very well in the last 10 years. Of course, not everybody, but a number of others. And they're looking to diversify. So how safe would be their investment?
Well, a lot of those people come to Italy more for a sabbatical experience
Mhm.
rather than actually investing in the country. Okay.
Ah,
So they kind of want to come here for a 3 to 6 or a 9-month experience. Okay. Some of them may go on to actually purchase a property,
I
but
see.
what they're looking more for is that Italian experience. Okay. Rather than that they want to kind of invest in the country. But I mean, that's certainly that's something that's kind of changing. Italy is kind of getting more out onto the world stage and promoting itself as a place to invest. Okay. But it's been a little bit slower, I would imagine, in comparison to some other countries that have really driven investment, like Ireland, for example. Okay. You know, they've made themselves a very tax friendly environment. And Italy's now working on that as well, which is what it has to do if it wants to attract
Right.
that type of foreign investment.
Right. So now there's technicalities to the home search, even if it's just a temporary, it's a long-term temporary, as you mentioned, 6 or 9 months. And this is your specialty, isn't it?
Yeah, and we work with the best providers because people coming from Singapore, Hong Kong, they're used to a very high level, okay? And
They
they
expect it.
don't, are they, I mean, to them it's normal, okay? Or, we have someone coming in a few months' time from Dubai, again, a very high-end market, okay? So they're not interested, they don't necessarily find the little apartment with the furniture of the grandmother cute. Okay. That might appeal to another group of people. Okay. But they're looking for something really high end. Okay. So
Right.
if you want to work with that market, you really need to have great properties.
So would you call that market chic?
I would call that market very demanding. They know what they want. Okay,
Right.
they don't want
That kind of experience. They are,
no, and they
right.
don't want the electricity going off because they plugged in the hair dryer. Okay, I mean, you know, they want to go into an apartment that has had the electrical system upgraded, and it's full of what normally Italy exports, which is Armani furniture,
Yeah.
because the ironic thing is you see more of Armani furniture outside of Italy than you do inside Italy. Okay. And so they're looking for that. They're looking for beautiful places.
Yeah.
And anybody who understands that is going to do very well. I mean, I've been saying this for years. Italy is America of the 1920s. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean it in the sense that it's full of opportunities. Okay. If somebody were to buy a building in Rome and turn it into short-term luxury apartments, they would be booked up 365 days a year.
Because
Okay.
there's a need for that.
There's a need for it, and offering really concierge services where the person turns up on time to meet you. Everything is organized. I mean, there are so many opportunities for short-term properties. I mean, in Milan recently, they just had Fashion Week. And
Yes.
3-star hotels were going for 500 euros a night. Okay, because there's just not enough short-term accommodation.
Right. So short term. So I mean, there's beautiful hotels, the Park Hyatt right there by the Duomo. We held one of our meetings there one time. God, that was just super elegant. It was nice. But wouldn't they accommodate short term?
Well, that would be a hotel, which would
rather than an apartment. Yeah.
That would, yeah. I mean, the big difference usually between short term and a hotel is you get more space with a short term. Okay, hotel rooms, unless you're in a massive suite, are kind of limited in space.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, the quality is there, but it's small. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they just prefer the privacy that a short-term apartment gives them in comparison to a hotel.
So what would that cost, a short term, the kind that you're talking about? There'll be $1,000 a night?
Yeah, easily. If it's of a certain level. I mean, obviously, if the person's going to stay 2 months or whatever, the price is kind of adjusted. I mean, not necessarily that the client is looking for that, but it just tends to happen. And then,
yes, go ahead.
And then you assign them somebody who will take care of them. So, we'll make sure that they've got the kitchen stocked, and we'll take care of them. You assign them essentially a personal assistant. Okay. And you cannot do that if you're managing a huge volume of clients.
So if by assigning someone like that, are you talking about somebody on your team
Mhm.
who's obviously well trained, and they would do errands for the client?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They would take care of them. They would do, they would, to the best of their ability, meet any request that they're presented with. Okay.
Interesting, isn't it? So on
Because
the
that's
yeah,
because that's what you need to give people. When you have someone managing 45 clients. Now I understand that it's at a much different pricing, but you simply just don't have the time
right.
to dedicate to them.
It's
So
a
that
different service level agreement.
it's very different. But I found that if everybody's on the same page, and everybody, I bring it back again, to, because I think that in global mobility, sometimes I think it's kind of one of the last sectors where pricing, what you get for that pricing is being understood. Okay. But if you take it to the fashion industry, if you go shopping at H&M or Zara, you know that what you buy may not last more than a year. I mean, you don't buy IKEA furniture and you're complaining in 5 years time because it fell
It wouldn't
apart.
last. It wouldn't last.
I mean, I mean, that's why I think it's difficult to rent furniture, at least in Italy, because you've got many IKEA, so you can just go buy the furniture. Okay.
Yeah,
But instead, if you buy something from Armani, you expect it to last. It's almost like an investment. Okay. And
I get
so
it.
that's why I was saying, when you put all the time and effort into getting the best talent and then you relocate them, you want to make sure that they don't feel that they have been kind of just given the bare minimum with regards to service.
So in some cases, you're talking about very successful business people who were brought in not for vacation, but for solving a business problem and a short-term
Yes,
executive
yeah.
or something, right?
Well, they don't
Interim,
necessarily,
interim executive.
they don't necessarily, I think everybody who works in an organization is important. So if that person is coming to Italy to do something, they're obviously coming to do something that's important. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming. And so, regardless of where they are, on the corporate ladder, you want to make sure that they've got the right budget, um, that they're going to have enough assistance, um, because I've seen it many times where the person feels that they weren't taken care of enough. And that's where the relationship between them and the company soured, so to speak, because they've been taken care of all along the line until they got to the part where they relocated. And then who was ever doing the relocating was telling the person, well, that's not included in your program. I have to ask for authorization. Okay. Whereas with us, we don't do that. We've established that the program for 90% is open-ended, and then you have a certain amount of hours for follow-up and various other parts that you might need to do.
Let me ask you a question about your own preparation when it comes to explaining in advance of getting the business, getting the account from somebody at that level. You want to present uh, a bio, I can't think of a better word, a bio of yourself, your services, your company, already prepped with the admin hurdles and the shopkeepers or the whatever. So do you yourself go on a shopping tour, introducing yourself and what you're doing to the managers of these boutiques, or
I've been around.
the
I,
people in town hall registration? They know
oh
who
yeah.
you are, so you just don't drop in someday and they don't know who you are.
No, 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 no. And I have a colleague who kind of takes care more of the aspect of the stores and stuff like that. But I've also been to the stores myself.
Yeah. So this sounds like just a wonderful super service.
Yeah, it was what I wanted to do. Um, I had a good business model. It was working, but I say to people all the time, I don't, you need to break what's not broken, you know? I said that in my email to you from reading from a lot of businesses that saw a decrease in their business. A lot of them admitted that what happened was they were trying to just give the client what they thought they wanted or what had worked up until then. Okay. And that just saw business drop off. Okay. And that's why I said, either you're following the clients or the clients are following you. And ideally, you want to be where the clients are following you. Okay. And what do they need? Okay. Not what you think they need or what they've needed up until now. Okay. You got
This
to
is
make that jump.
this is really important that you go above the fray.
You'll put yourself out of business if you don't. And it's okay to get smaller. This is fine. You know, um, Unfortunately, still there are a lot of people that don't look at the profit, but they look at the turnover. Okay. And you really need to look at the profit. Okay. You need to be coming away with a certain percentage of profit. Um, because, a while back, I was talking to a business coach in Italy, and now they've gotten back into it. They stopped during the pandemic, obviously, but they were putting on these beautiful events, but there was really no profit. I mean, it looked like a beautiful event. They had all kinds of bells and whistles, and it was fantastic, but they were looking at the turnover. They weren't looking at the profit. And you can get smaller and actually have more profit on what you're doing with that smaller group of clients than you would have possibly with a huge group of clients. And that's what I started to realize. And also I need to change. I if I keep doing the same thing over and over again, I get a little jaded. So, it's good to have clients that keep you on your toes and are demanding. Because
So
then
because they're interviewing you before a deal goes.
they're interviewing me, but I'm also interviewing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Which,
understood.
well, it's understood. I mean, I had a conversation with an HR in a luxury brand in Italy, and I could see that she was kind of a little bit concerned about the fees. And I just said, well, just think of it as one of your outfits. Okay. I'm, you know, I mean, and if you're giving a lot of your time and your energy, that has to come at a premium because there are only so many hours in the day. So
You are really giving me a really good lesson here, and I really appreciate it because I should charge more for what I do. Because I give a lot.
I think that pricing, that's why I've never agreed with giving anything away for free. because people question that. They think, why is it free?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
And if you are convinced that you offer a good service, then you need to charge what you feel that that's worth. And then you connect with the people that understand that. Okay. It's like if you're in a room with a, a group of business people and they're all doing at least, 7 figures, then there's a different energy in the
Yeah,
room.
for sure. It's totally
Okay.
different. Yeah,
It's a totally different energy.
yeah.
But if you people, I mean, as I know, I bring it to the luxury. I always make a comparison with the luxury sector because they don't even think twice. Okay. I mean, um, they have, as I said, bags for 100,000 euros, and there's a waiting list. Okay. No one even thinks twice about it. Okay. And if you're providing any other kind of service and you're really providing it, with everything that you've got, that's worth something. But what's important is that you get in front of the right audience. Okay. Because um, I think it's like Tesla. You never see advertisements on the television for Tesla because they know their clients aren't watching television. Okay. So you see Fiat and Volkswagen because their clients are watching TV. And so when you get in front, that's why I said at the beginning, when you go down, you get smaller. You first get to the people that understand the need for a hand holding type service, and then you go down even further, and then you get to the people that both understand the service and that it's going to cost. And
So you
then
mentioned, if I may just interject here, let's go back a few minutes. You were discussing with us talent density.
yeah,
Could you redefine that now?
talent density,
Having said all the stuff that we just were discussing, that talent density means what?
it means that the talent within a company, it's like a densely populated country like the Netherlands. There are so many people in the Netherlands in such a small space that the country is highly densely populated. Okay. Talent density is that everybody working for the company is so elevated professionally and in their skill set that the company has talent density. Okay. Because if you don't have the proper skill set, and you're not working from an elevated way of thinking, which can even just be making the right decision or doing the right thing, you're not going to contribute to that density. You're going to be outside the density. Okay. So if you've got talent density, it means that the talent is so incredible that that's all of the talent. So the talent in and of itself is extremely dense.
So let's talk about this image behind you.
Mhm.
Is that fountain right behind you? Is that a Bernini?
Yes, this is Piazza di Spagna, and this is the fountain there, which was damaged a couple of years ago, but they fixed it. There was a football match, and it got damaged by some of the supporters, but they fixed it.
Yeah, okay. Now, those buildings behind you, of course, on the ground floor is shops, but are those condos above that, or is that a
There
private
are
home?
apartments, yes. There are apartments, and if you go right up to the last floor, you will have the apartments that have a terrace. And
Yeah,
these are premium properties.
yeah. So these are apartments, meaning a condo, you buy
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So that would be like 10 million,
Um,
maybe 5 million,
maybe more.
maybe more.
I mean, this is you cannot get any more central than this. So if you've got a large attic apartment with a beautiful terrace and a view, yeah, that could be 15, 20 million. Yeah.
Because that's the pièce de résistance. And
And you're putting,
the Vatican is just behind, up those stairs and behind, right?
no, the Vatican is the other part.
And
If you
the
go
other
up,
part, okay.
if you go up to the top, you've got Via Sistina, where you've got Hotel Hassler, where I think you stayed.
Yeah.
The Vatican is the other side. But again, this is location. This is prime location. You've got Via Condotti with all of the
Yes.
luxury stores. So it really is what real estate is all about, location.
Fascinating speaking with you. I've learned a lot here. We should come to a close here. Would you like to summarize?
Um, summarize. To summarize, I would say that when we're working in global mobility, though we've heard this before, we're talking about people. And when you're talking about people, you really need to invest in those people and you need to take care of them. Okay. I do believe in a certain, to a certain point, automating certain things. But at the end of the day, what really counts is being able to dedicate time to the person. Okay. And making sure that they have the best experience possible and getting to know them beforehand. Okay. Which you don't always sometimes have the chance to do. But if you really get to know that person, then you can really offer them something which is spectacular, or as my program is called, iconic. It's an iconic experience. Okay.
Describe your program in a few more words.
My program is dedicated to the person having an iconic experience, whatever that means to them. Okay. And it's pretty open-ended. Okay. Which means that we're not really watching the clock. So we're not telling the person, okay, you're running out of hours, so you better
I know.
okay. We're just going with it. Okay. And so the person doesn't feel rushed. Okay. And whatever they require, they will be taken care of. They're assigned essentially a personal assistant rather than a relocation coordinator. Okay. So that person will take care of them. And, that it's not for everybody. I just think it does work when you really want to invest in somebody. Okay. I think it makes, and, the world is super competitive. So people can easily find another job if they're valuable on the market. Okay. So why lose them because you didn't give them enough support in the relocation? Okay. And it has nothing to do with age, because people say, but is it the older people that need a lot of assistance? And no, it can also be a millennial who just really needs you to walk them through the process.
Because they don't know the culture.
They don't,
Or they haven't had this level of experience, even though they may have already
or
had
they,
means.
or they're just not comfortable with everything being so different to them. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they need you to be there for them. So, they want to go shopping. They want you to be with them. They don't want to feel that they have to point a finger, for what they want and sort of revert to being like a baby, so they want that support. And then of course we try to work on helping them to walk with their own feet eventually. Okay.
So would you, on a client basis, let's say somebody was coming into Rome and they've heard about Puglia, but
Mhm.
where is it? How do you get there? Would you go there with them and show them around?
That would be possible. We tend to work mainly in Rome, Milan, and Florence, okay? Because that's where our requests are coming from, okay? Someone going to Puglia, it is something we could accommodate, but it doesn't tend to tie in with what our clients are looking for, okay? They want to be in a major city.
Right. Okay. Okay, everybody. So you see Damien's name there on the lower left, on my lower left, and the email inquiry at damienofarrell.com.
Exactly.
And I thank you for being my very special guest today on Global TV Talk Show. Please come back.
Thank you, Ed.
And I wish you well. And again, you've taught me to step up and go to my next level. So stay tuned.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Ed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.